The girl was the unluckiest girl in the world. Due to some reasons, her ex-boyfriend left her for marrying another girl. She didn't know what to do and only drank wine to drown her sorrows. In a daze while running from someone, the clock struck midnight. In an instant, she suddenly transformed into a very cute little puppy, like a cheesy snack. Since her family was cursed by a witch, anyone in the family who kissed others will turn into a puppy. Her sister had once broken the rules and afterwards turned into a puppy. Even Ha was not an exception. If she didn't follow, she would face the same. Being aware of the problem during a relationship. Hannah hasn't kissed her boyfriend before. Today his boyfriend celebrated their love anniversary. He wanted her to give him a romantic kiss. Since they had in love relationship for a long time but they hadn't kissed each other before. To deal with this dilemma, she smashed the birthday cake and walked away. And their love story put to an end from that. Since Ha was a secondary teacher, being alone for a long time, she also wanted to have a passionate love. But due to the curse, she could see others fall in love. Today was her ex-boyfriend's wedding day and she felt so depressed. He sent messages and invited her friends to go for drink with her after finishing work. But they all replied that they would go on a date. Hannah felt deeply frustrated. Hannah always wanted to prevent couples if they tended to kiss each other. Since Hannah couldn't kiss anyone, so her students would be so. Today Hannah and her colleagues had lunchtime together. Unluckily, Hannah ran into a handsome teacher, Seo Gwon. He was a star in the hearts of the female students, but to Hannah, he seemed quite strange. The person she liked was history teacher, Bo Jayam. Bo Jayam invited everyone to go out for a meal for no reasons. Coincidentally, Seo Gwon was also there that day. On the way, Bo Jayam showed interest in a puppy at the pet store. In contrast, Seo Gwon was fearful and hid away. Seeing that, Hannah thought that Seo Gwon was quite peculiar. Ms. Chi Ah, the energetic teacher, had pulled everyone up, and they were all a bit tipsy. At the same time, Hannah received a message from her rival. Due to being angry, she decided to drink some bottles. Song Wai thought that Hannah did that because of Bo Jayam, so she asked him if he had a girlfriend. Bo Jayam announced that he didn't have a girlfriend. If you like someone, please confess it directly. There's no need to suffer from unrequited love. Hearing that, it made her become more energetic. She tended to take this chance to confess her feelings to Bo Jayam. Seo Gwon excused himself to step outside to take a phone call. Bo Jayam noticed it was too cold outside and gave his jacket to Seo Gwon. Song Wai saw two men outside and encouraged her to be braver. Hannah stepped outside and saw Bo Jayam talking on the phone. She approached Bo Jayam and confessed her feelings to that man. And what she saw was Bo Jayam squeezing his eyes shut. Hannah thought he might accept a woman like her, so she stepped forward and kissed Bo Jayam. Suddenly, Bo Jayam called out to Hannah, which made her surprised, since she had mistakenly kissed Seo Gwon instead. Since it was almost midnight, so Hannah found a place to escape. If not, that secret would be revealed to everyone. A while later, Hannah transformed into a puppy. Hannah's family agreed to verify its identity with a password if they saw a lost dog on the street. But when Hannah transformed into a puppy, but she just barked instead to expressing the thoughts as a human being did. Hannah's transformation into a puppy would last for 100 days. On every midnight she would turn into a puppy, and at 6 a.m. tomorrow she would turn into a human. Within 100 days, if she couldn't break the curse, she would remain a dog forever. Hannah's uncle, unable to break the curse, had been turned into a dog for life. Legend has it that if anyone in Hannah's family kissed other, they would turn into a new dog. Only by proving that it was true love could they return to their human form. The curse had been passed down from generation to generation, and no one had been able to escape it. After Hannah woke up, she remembered that the person she had kissed the night before was not Bo Jayam, but the unpleasant teacher, Seo Gwon. This made her feel quite embarrassed. Hannah couldn't understand how it was clearly Bo Jayam's jacket, yet it had somehow become Seo Gwon's. Regardless, she felt very embarrassed and didn't want to go to work. Her sister felt that her long-held resentment had finally been relieved. Her first kiss at 28 had been lost. She encouraged her sister to break the curse. If not, she would turn into a puppy. After work, Hannah met with Seo Gwon and apologized, hoping he could help keep that incident a secret. To her surprise, Seo Gwon was quite generous. He also mentioned that Hannah had mistaken him for Bo Jayam. And suddenly, Hannah asked him if he liked puppies. However, Seo Gwon didn't answer her question. He turned away and walked off. Not far behind, a male student ran up and suspected that Seo Gwon wanted to pursue his head teacher. Suddenly the bell rang and the male student handed Seo Gwon the trash bag. On it was a picture of a crab, and the pronunciation of crab and dog in Korean is quite similar. Seo Gwon mistakenly thought that Hannah was asking if he liked crabs, and they mentioned the average expectancy of a dog lasted for 12 years. Hannah's uncle became a dog and had lived for nearly 10 years. It was equivalent to a 70 and 80-year-old man and had 1 month left to live. The sister advised her to break the curse as soon as possible. It also came up with her that she had been drinking with Seo Gwon until early morning. She planned to wait until he was distracted by the trash to kiss him while in her puppy form. The next morning Hannah would start her own crazy plan. He invited her to go for some barbecue. Let's have some barbecue and then plan how to tackle humidity before the rainy season arrives. Let's enjoy a glass of soju with grilled intestines when we were stressed and could drink with some pork knuckle. When we felt not better, we would have a soju glass with chicken feet. But Seo Gwon always refused Hannah. But the attempt would be deserving. In the afternoon Hannah received messages from Seo Gwon. Finally, he agreed to go out for drinks with Hannah. And Hannah informed her sister of plan for becoming human officially. In the evening Hannah remembered what her sister had taught her before. She poured soju into Seo Gwon's glass and watched him down it in one gulp. After a while, Seo Gwon seemed to be drunk. He said that he knew clearly the reason why Hannah wanted to invite him for drinks. Since she knew that he was close to Bo Jaeum, Hannah wanted to ask him to be a bridge between them. Hannah didn't deny that she started chatting with him. She could not understand why Seo Gwon always invited her to go shopping together. Seo Gwon always disappeared and he was reluctant to reveal the truth. But he didn't actually hate Hannah, and in fact, he really enjoyed eating steamed crab, which was delicious. But Hannah thought that dogs were delicious, just as her alarm went off on her phone. With only 5 minutes left, Hannah immediately ran into Quiet Alley ahead. She called and told Seo Woon to come at midnight. Hannah transformed in a puppy and she imaged Seo Woon walked into the alley. Then he saw a cute puppy, picked it up, and kissed it, allowing her to easily return to her human form. But in reality, Seo Gwon stumbled into the alley. She went outside to prove her cuteness. Unexpectedly, Seo Gwon was so frightened that he fell to the ground, leaving Hannah feeling very confused. Still unable to guess his reaction, she slowly approached Seo Gwon. But in Seo Gwon's eyes, the puppy looked very scary. He immediately struggled to get up and jumped onto the trash can. At that moment, Hannah realized that Seo Gwon was truly scared, making her feel a bit hopeless. Hannah didn't give up, she jumped around excitedly while barking. Just then, Bo Jaeum arrived to pick up Seo Gwon as promised, and he was delighted to see the puppy in front of him. He picked her up and praised her for being so cute, just as Hannah's sister rushed out of the alley. He lied that it was his own dog and he thanked. Suddenly, Seo Gwon couldn't find Hannah anywhere and called her, but fortunately, her sister didn't answer. Instead, she sent message that she had to leave early. The plan to return had failed for the first time and Hannah was curious when Seo Gwon was afraid of a small puppy. Yutet thought it might be a psychological shadow, while her sister felt that the current situation was really bad. She invited him for dinner but not paying money, he had disappeared. This behavior was seen as scamming. In reality Seo Gwon felt worried and embarrassed since he was afraid of dogs. And even if Hannah saw that scene, which made him feel more embarrassed. In the afternoon Hannah apologized to Seo Gwon and wanted to pay for yesterday's meal. Seo Gwon said that he was drunk so Mr. Bo Jaeum had pay for that. In reality they both had their own fears. Hannah feared that her turn into a puppy would be revealed, while Seo Gwon was worried Hannah would notice his fear of dogs. At that moment, Hannah suggested that since he had already acted as a bridge. Later on, they often met and he offered her some useful advice. After saying that, Hannah put on a pleading expression, and finally, Seo Gwon agreed to help her one last time. Accidentally he planned to hang out with Bo Jaeum that night so he called Hannah to join them. That night, they played a game, and Bo Jaeum also invited Chi-ah to join. With Seo Gwon's intelligence, he could unclock the password. In fact, Hannah wanted to delay it until early morning to create a favorable condition for her second attempt to become human again. She asked Seo Gwon to go for a beer. However Seo Gwon said that he didn't like drinking beer. I don't like it either, but come on, just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. He insisted not drinking because he didn't like drinking beer. This made Hannah recall a time in the past when she accidentally overheard Seo Gwon saying that he felt uncomfortable being around her. She felt curious about his discomfort when he met her. But Seo Gwon didn't explain anything. Feeling bored, Hannah left alone. When she was waiting for the elevator, Seo Gwon ran after. But when he said some words, he saw the next person bringing a puppy behind him. He felt so frightened and he didn't say anything to Hannah again. After returning home, Hannah told her sister and Yutet about this. It turned out that the family curse, with dogs often surrounding them, was the reason for this. But Seo Gwon was so afraid of dogs. And when he saw puppies by chance, she would disappear because of it. Moreover, there were many people around, so it was very likely that he ran away out of anxiety. Early the next morning, many students rushed in to make complaints. Some bullies from school were sitting in front of school and smoked. Hannah came to threaten them but they didn't feel frightened. Hannah just wanted to look at the names on their school badges. But she didn't know that she was accused of harassment and invading others' privacy. And they wanted to play tricks on Hannah. By the way, Seo Gwon came and taught them a new lesson. Afterwards Hana came to thank Seo Goen and she left in a frightening way. By noon, Hana looked dazed and Seo Gwon noticed that. During lunch, Seo Gwon heard that Song Wai mentioning that Hana loved tiramisu. Soon after, there was a box of cake on Hana's desk, and her mood improved a bit. Without saying, everyone could know who bought it. A little later, Seo Woon took the initiative to find Hana and explain the reason why he had been avoiding her, so he had gone through such dark moments. Seo Woon had been bullied during school, and the sound of barking dogs left a psychological shadow over him. In the end, Seo Woon still couldn't talk about this incident. Hana also noticed that Seo Woon was trying to explain enough to prove that he didn't hate her. Moreover, everyone has things that are hard to say. There was always a secret they want to keep deep inside. By now, the relationship between them improved better. Suddenly, Hana became very curious about how to unlock the emergency exit code. It turned out that Seo Woon, based on the clues provided, pieced together the words to form War of the Dragons. They didn't know why he liked this kind of game. On other side, the history teacher was assigning homework to students. If it were possible to come back to the past. If you could come back to the past, what time would you want to go back? There was a girl who wanted to hear the head teacher's answer. Bo Jiam's answer was the year 1992, as it marked the beginning of an inescapable misfortune. Coincidentally, the ancestors of both Seo Woon and Hana had also experienced it. It seemed that Bo Jiam might be connected to the curse of Hana's clan. The three bullies were still unconvinced and decided to look for someone online to share their thoughts with. Coincidentally, they came across a photo of Seo Woon and Choi Yoon. However, when they turned around, they saw Choi Yoon appearing behind them. "Hey, kids, come over here and help me call the police." After a while, Hana received a call and told her to come to the police station quickly. At the same time, the bully was at the police station with a bruised face. His mother was very angry, wondering if he was an orphan or what. The police quickly stopped the woman, informing her that her son's friends had instigated the conflict, so she needed to apologize instead. However, the woman ignored the police's words and accused Choi Yoon of being undisciplined at home, which was why he resorted to violence. Coincidentally, Hana overheard this and felt that the woman was being completely unreasonable. She even mentioned that her son had threatened her, claiming it could be a criminal case that could lead to prosecution in South Korea. Hearing that, the woman didn't feel arrogant anymore. After resolving the issue, Hana wondered why Choi Yoon hadn't called his parents. Choi Yoon said that his parents were currently living in Australia, and he was staying with relatives. If he connected their relatives, the consequences would be worse. Hana wanted to take Choi Yoon home, but that time was already 11:56 p.m. She felt panicked and ran home, and she didn't expect that Choi Yoon were chasing after her. And of course Hana would turn into a puppy at midnight. This made Choi Yoon so frightened that he fainted, but luckily, Hana was able to provide first aid. A while later, Choi Yoon woke up and unable to accept that his teacher had turned into a dog. But it happened in front of him and he also cared for this puppy. And he took Hana to his home. Of course, he was so kind and generous. He asked Hana for some tea but then realized she was now a puppy. He just used a lid and poured the water into it. "Did you want to grab some tea?" But the puppy didn't want. A while later, Hana came up with an idea and wanted to escape when Choi Yoon was sleeping. But it was quite difficult to do and she stepped back a few spaces. She wanted to gain speed and leap forward, but she seemed to be out of reach. She couldn't open the door despite her efforts. And she decided to give up and waited until 6 a.m. tomorrow. But she couldn't wait until that time and she decided to fall asleep. Morning sunshine appeared and she woke up. Firstly, she had to get new dressed. By that time, Seo Guian arrived. Hana felt confused and wondered if she was dreaming. Seo Woon glanced at Choi Yoon and Hana quickly tugged down his shirt. But it could make Seo Woon misunderstand more. It turned out that Seo Woon was Choi Yoon's uncle, and they lived together. But no one knew the relationship between them. Seo Woon began to interrogate Hana and Choi Yoon, asking what exactly had happened between the female teacher and the male student in the same room. Choi Yoon almost revealed the secret of Hana turning into a dog. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, Hana managed to stop him. She lied, saying that she had been drinking when she went to the police station to pick up Choi Yoon last night. Unfortunately, she had fallen asleep in the taxi because she was drunk. He didn't know where your house was and he didn't know how to talk to a dog. They admitted drinking too much. In Seo Woon's surprised gaze, they began to. And it hardly dispelled Seo Woon's suspicions. When he took Hana back home, Seo Woon wanted Hana keep the secret between them. Hana also promised to keep the secret, not realizing how their conversation would unfold. Coincidentally, the female teacher who had feelings for Seo Woon heard that. But she just heard the word secret and she thought that they had inappropriate relationship. Seo Woon went upstairs and saw Choi Yoon looking at pictures as various puppies. In reality, Choi Yoon saw Hana turning a cute puppy. He also wanted to have a cute puppy like this, but he ensured that his uncle wouldn't agree. Even so, Choi Yoon continued to mimic the cute actions of the dog in front of Seo Woon, who couldn't help but laugh. At school, the female teacher wanted Seo Woon to confess the relationship with Hana, but they had to exchange the secrets each other. This was the first time she told her secrets to Seo Woon. Seo Woon was confused by the female teacher's behavior. Not receiving a response, she felt dissatisfied. So she told Hana that she had overheard secrets between Hana and Seo Woon. Hana felt so frightened, and though whether it was the secret of her turning into a puppy, by that time, she didn't know how to explain this problem. The female teacher told her about the private relationship between Mr. Seo Woon and her. She also felt relieved, and she did not have any ambiguous relationship with Seo Woon. Although the female teacher suspected, Hana felt more relieved. Seo Woon entered the office and discovered the vice principal had brought a dog to school. He didn't want anyone know about his secret fear of dogs. For a moment, he stood at the door, caught in a dilemma. To help him, Hana lied about being allergic to dog fur and suggested that they temporarily keep it locked up at school. However, the vice principal found the dog very cute and couldn't bear locking up, telling Hana to try to get over it. And the vice principal asked Seo Joon get food for the dog from the car's truck. Seo Joon was excited to finish the task as soon as possible. But unexpectedly, the vice president was quite busy and he told Seo Woon to feed the dog. Despite feeling helpless, Seo Woon had to open the door. He immediately took out the water and food, anxiously watching the dog's reaction as he set down the bowl. Seeing the dog still lying motionless, Seo Woon turned back and tried to finish the task even faster. But at that moment, the dog suddenly opened its eyes and excitedly ran over to the food. Just as it was about to jump on Seo Woon, Hana unexpectedly rushed over and pushed him out the door. Although Hana helped him twice, he was afraid of puppies. As long as the dog was in the office, he didn't dare to step. He even asked Bo Jaeum to help him. A little later, while Bo Jaeum was taking the dog for a walk, he spotted Seo Woon. Bo Jaeum set the dog down and ran over to Seo Woon. Seo Woon saw the dog running toward him and was so scared that he froze in place. At that crucial moment, Hana appeared once again. She threw a collar in the another direction, which caused the dog to change its goal. Back in the office, the female teachers were chatting among themselves. They mentioned the cute dog that the vice principal had taken away. After hearing the news, Hana went to the classroom to inform Seo Woon. She intentionally spoke loudly on the phone to let him know that the dog had been taken away. Seo Woon finally returned to the office in relief, but he had to check carefully to make sure he didn't see any dogs here. Afterwards, he sat quietly and ate some snacks. But he didn't know that the dog was lying in a corner where he couldn't see it. Hearing Seo Woon eating, the dog immediately crawled under the table. The computer screen turned black. As Seo Woon crouched down to check the network cable, he was surprised to see the dog's face. At the same time, Hana, as a teacher, learned that the dog had returned. He quickly ran to the office at the highest speed. Seo Woon was so scared that he slumped down onto the table. The two colleagues couldn't believe what they were seeing and asked Seo Woon if he was afraid of dogs. They felt surprised when saw a man become afraid of dogs. Just as Seo Woon didn't know how to reply, Hana rushed and picked up the dog. She then asked Seo Woon if the water fountain had been fixed. Seo Woon understood her hint and immediately stood up to check the water fountain on the floor. The two successfully collaborated to avoid the crisis. As Seo Woon sat down at his desk, he saw Hana happily playing with the dog. Seo Woon stared at Hana, captivated by the scene. It turned out that when Hana first joined the school, Seo Woon had been drawn to her radiant smile. Since then, he had unconsciously sought out Hana, realizing that he had liked her for a long time without anyone knowing. Just seeing Hana smile filled him with joy from the bottom of his heart. In the evening, as Hana passed by the Borjin bakery, she caught sight of her own reflection. Suddenly, she remembered that Seo Woon had promised to treat her to a cake. So he called to remind Seo Woon, and when he arrived at the bakery to buy a cake, he ran into Hana. Faced with so many delicious pastries, Hana found it difficult to decide which one to buy. Seeing this, Seo Woon immediately bought all the pastries. While waiting for the bus, Seo Woon handed a piece of cake to Hana and thanked Hana for saving him. Hana gifted Seo Woon a stuffed animal keychain made by her sister and hung it on his bag. She hoped he could use the stuffed animal to help overcome his fear of dogs. After that, Seo Woon took the cake to meet Borjin. But he couldn't understand why Borjin preferred to live in the forest. Borjin explained that he loved being close to nature, but after saying that, his expression suddenly became complicated. Seo Woon didn't ask further questions. Instead, he noticed the teacup was very antique. Early the next morning, Borjin unlocked a door at the school, revealing a secret basement inside. There were so many ancient things inside. He gently touched a wooden box and it brought him back to ancient times. A man wrapped a scarf around his beloved woman. But when the woman turned around, she was being chased by arrows. Back in reality, Borjin took the scarf out of the box and stared at it for a long time. His face seemed to indescribable. At school there were two teachers who tended to tie the knot. The colleague suggested that Hana and Borjin represent everyone in choosing a gift. Hearing this, Seo Woon immediately said that Borjin hadn't finished grading the long assignments yet. Thus, he successfully got the chance to go with Hana. They were misunderstood by the sales staff as a couple and coincidentally ended up buying matching pajamas. Hana was afraid of getting carsick on thus tomorrow, so she wanted to buy some motion sickness medicine. Seo Woon quickly offered to give her a ride with him. However, their conversation was once again overheard by the female teacher. The female teacher, who had feelings for Seo Woon, was determined not to let the two have a chance to be alone together. Seo Woon didn't want to give up the last opportunity he had. He was determined not to ride with the female teacher. The female teacher had no choice but to persuade Hana to join her for the ride. Hana, of course, couldn't refuse. The next morning, Seo Woon dressed in a handsome suit and went directly to pick up Hana. He hoped that Hana would come with him. Hana was captivated by Seo Woon's handsome appearance, complimenting him over and over again. Unexpectedly, the female teacher walked over. To avoid being noticed by the female teacher, Seo Woon quickly opened his umbrella to block her line of sight. The two were in close proximity, causing Hana's heart to race. It turned out that Seo Woon wanted Hana to ride with him to the wedding. He lied that Bojayam often overslept in the mornings and was frequently late. If Hana went with him, they would not go to the wedding on time. Hana believed that it was true, and because of coming on time, she decided to go with Seo Woon. Seo Woon achieved his goal, but he remembers he just got his driver's license. To avoid mistakes on the road, he carefully checked directions and reviewed driving instructions. Choi Yoon reminded his friend that the best way to stay safe was not to do anything too dangerous. But Seo Woon was confident in himself and he believed that he would have a great time with Hana. The next morning, Seo Woon put on a handsome suit, sprayed some perfume and prepared snacks in the car. Everything was ready and he drove the car to take Hana. On the way, it suddenly started to rain, and Seo Woon was so anxious that he couldn't use the windshield wipers. Hana felt something was off, so to help Seo Woon relax, she suggested listening to music. But unexpectedly, Seo Woon turned on the media, and Hana couldn't help but laugh. Seo Woon felt embarrassed at that moment when Yoon called. Knowing Hana was in the car with his friend, he told Hana to hurry up. At the same time, he revealed that his friend had only been driving on the highway for 3 months since getting his license. Seo Woon was worried and veered off the route, while Hana, frightened, held onto the seatbelt tightly. After several wrong turns, they finally arrived at their destination. Hana thought they were late, so she pulled Seo Woon to run quickly into the hall. Seo Woon took the chance to hold Hana's hand tightly. At the ceremony, Seo Woon sang a song, and as Hana watched him shine on stage, her heart was filled with waves of emotion. She couldn't take her eyes off him. The female teacher, unable to ride with Seo Woon, also lost interest in going with Bojayam. Instead, she took a taxi to the wedding location. By the time she arrived, the wedding ceremony was nearly coming to an end. To avoid embarrassment, she lied and said she had urgent business and needed to leave early. She asked Seo Woon to take her to the train station. Bojayam was suggesting that everyone go to the beach together. Seo Woon also wanted to go to the beach with Hana, but the female teacher kept making it difficult for him, so he could only take her instead. On the way, Seo Woon learned that Hana and Bojayam would be going to the beach together, and for a moment, he felt a bit disappointed. Additionally, the female teacher deliberately ignored him. Seo Woon immediately felt upset and decided to return to Seoul with her. At that moment, Hana and Bojayam had arrived at the beach and were taking a walk. Bojayam saw through Hana's thoughts after Seo Woon left. Bojayam sighed seriously, saying they would drift apart faster than she thought. He didn't share her thoughts, wanting Hana to be happy as soon as possible. Choi Yoon's sister and Yutet sought out Choi Yoon. Now, Choi Yoon knew Hana's secret. They asked him to help create an opportunity for Hana and Seo Woon to kiss. Choi Yoon mistakenly thought Hana and Seo Woon were dating, so he happily promised to help. He decided to take action tonight. Choi Yoon repeatedly urged him to go to bed early. After confirming that Seo Woon was asleep, Choi Yoon's sister and Yutet brought Hana to the house and entered Seo Woon's bedroom. Then they waited outside for news. Hana changed into a puppy and gazed intently at Seo Woon. Close moments between them crossed in her mind. It seemed she had fallen for Seo Woon without realizing it. Hana leaned down and kissed Seo Woon, but to her surprise, she didn't change into a human after kissing him. Hana felt that wasn't enough, so she continued kissing Seo Woon. He suddenly woke up, scared, and shouted loudly. Choi Yoon quickly opened the door and stepped inside. Hana seized the chance to run outside. To prevent him from discovering any clues, Choi Yoon lied, saying he hadn't seen any puppy in the house and that it was just a nightmare. After returning home, Hannah sadly analyzed the situation with her sister. Hannah asked her sister to ask their mother if there were any side effects when she transformed into a puppy, like side effects that made her heart beat more quickly. Afterwards her sister replied, and the answer was it had to be done when your partner was awake. Hannah immediately felt discouraged. Seo-woon was afraid of dogs, making this an impossible task. Now, the only way was to help Seo-woon overcome his fear of dogs. The next day, Hannah and Seo-woon waited for the bus together. Hannah noticed that Seo-woon was carrying the puppy-shaped keychain she had given him. It made Hannah become more confident than ever. Hannah asked Seo-woon why he was afraid of dogs. Seo-woon confessed that when he was 50, he had a little accident. Since then, every time he saw a dog, both his body and mind were filled with fear. Seeing Seo-woon like that, she feels so compassed for him. After returning home, she told her sister that she had decided to help Seo-woon overcome his fear of dogs, partly due to her own spell, but now she truly wanted to help him. From Hannah's reactions, her sister realized that Hannah was in love. Chi gai nin thay ro du duen hung ko kong noira ko muon Hannah tu hu duok du. Hannah wanted to share her thoughts with Seo-woon, so she arranged to meet him outside the school. For the sake of love, Seo-woon also tried to take the first step. The next day, they went on a date, and Hannah took Seo-woon to a pet store. She told him to gaze at the dog in 5 seconds. Seo-woon followed Hannah's instructions, and with her encouragement, he began to find the puppies adorable. Afterwards, they went to the park, where Hannah explained to Seo-woon about the puppies that was led by the owner. The puppies showed their reactions through barking. In Seo-woon's mind, whenever a dog barked, it meant it wanted to bite someone. Hannah began teaching Seo-woon to analyze the barks when they encountered people. It meant that don't come nearer. And there was one more thing Hannah wanted to convey: come here, it's so much fun to meet. They found a place without any dogs and sat down to rest. Hannah praised him for doing quite well. Seo-woon was indulged in Hannah's smile. During their talk, a puppy turned to head them. For a moment, Seo-woon recalled past scenes, and all the fearful memories flooded back. To protect Seo-woon, Hannah used her jacket to cover their heads while soothing his feelings. Seo-woon remembered the moment Hannah protected him, and his heart began to race. He looked at the puppy keychain Hannah had given him and, for a moment, he hallucinated that the keychain transformed into Hannah, and that made him become flutter. The next day, at work, Seo-woon happened to see a girl named Chivon being bullied. Seo-woon saw a reflection of his younger self in her. He wanted to help Chivon, but she refused his kindness, fearing it would make the bullying worse. So she lied, saying she was making a video series about preventing school violence. Chivon was a student in teacher Chea's class. Seo-woon quickly informed her about the situation. However, teacher Chea seemed to dismiss the issue. After asking Chivon, the female teacher asserted that nothing was happening. But Seo-woon trusted his instincts and decided to investigate on his own. After class, Chivon hid in the equipment room, too scared to even answer her phone. In her extreme fear, Chivon confessed that she was being bullied. Seo-woon required the school to solve this problem as soon as possible. However, the vice principal didn't want to make a big fuss about the situation. Seo-woon was very angry. He couldn't understand whom the vice principal was trying to protect. Was it a school that truly had no violence, or one that just pretended to be free of it? Hannah approached and comforted Seo-woon. Seo-woon also shared with Hannah about his unforgettable experiences. At that time, while in high school, he not only had to attend classes but also take care of Choi-yun. He wanted to take Choi-yun home after school, but he was surrounded by a group of boys. They even let a dog scare him, and from that moment, Seo-woon became very afraid of dogs. Hannah empathized deeply with Seo-woon's story and encouraged him to cry and let it all out. Hannah wanted to seek justice for Chivon. She decided to take the video of Chivon being bullied with the help of her sister. She changed into a dog and quickly snatched the phone while the opponent was taking selfies. The next day, she showed the evidence on the vice principal's phone, who felt very powerless and could only address the issue. Tae-hee held a grudge against Seo-woon as a way to take revenge on him. She would pretend to be close to Seo-woon and ask others to record a video, and use that video as evidence to accuse Seo-woon of harassing female students. Hannah outside had overheard her plan but had not clearly heard the specific plan. By evening, Hannah turned into a dog and recorded the conversation between Tae-hee and her accomplices. Hannah hid in a box and wanted to get closer to them, but unfortunately, she was discovered by a female student. To avoid being exposed, she quickly ran away. On the way home, her sister opened the video that they were targeting Seo-woon. She immediately called Seo-woon for this problem. Unluckily, Seo-woon received a call from Tae-hee earlier. Tae-hee wanted to meet Seo-woon since she wanted to atone for her mistakes. Seo-woon believed that it was sincere and wanted to know the meeting point. In the emergency situation, her sister could only contact Choi-yun. After knowing the story, Choi-yun hurriedly joined with them. They quickly arrived at the meeting point and started looking around. Hannah quickly detected the scent of a few people with her dog nose. At that moment, Tae-hee was pretending to be remorseful. She was crying and leaning against Seo-woon's chest. At that moment, Hannah suddenly dashed in and drew everyone's attention. Seo-woon also saw students who were secretly recording the video. Tae-hee asked his mates to chase for the puppy. Seo-woon realized that something was off and chased after the students who had recorded him secretly. Choi-yoon appeared and prevented those students. Tae-hee also noticed the dog that had stolen her phone and chased after Hannah the entire way. Hannah cleverly hid herself behind a sculpture. At that moment, Tae-hee chased after Hannah into a dark, remote area surrounded in shadows. Bo Jaeum suddenly appeared in front of her. At that moment, Bo Jaeum was no longer the modest gentleman he usually was. Instead, he was very fierce. He picked up a stick and punished Tae-hee. Tae-hee screamed in fear and ran away, but Bo Jaeum appeared right in front of her. Tae-hee felt panicked and hurriedly ran away as fast as he could. Seeing this, Bo Jaeum did not take any action and finally the situation was resolved. Chi-won was free and no longer afraid of being bullied. But Hannah received bad news that the school had a field trip next week. This meant that she would have to spend the night outside. But she still had not broken the curse that changed her into a dog. Hannah quickly asked Choi-yoon to take her home that night. Choi-yoon lied Seo-woon that he wanted to take a friend's dog to play for some days. Seo-won reluctantly agreed as his little cousin kept begging him. In the evening, her sister brought Hannah to Seo-won's house, reminding Choi-yoon to wake Hannah up at 3 a.m. And she told Hannah to kiss Seo-won while he was sleeping. If the mission failed, the dog had to be back by 5 a.m. Choi-yoon promised to complete the mission. He had drunk a lot of cans of soda to quench his thirst. However, he still couldn't hold out until 3 a.m. The dog had already fallen asleep. The next morning, when Hannah woke up, she felt very sad. She put on Choi Il-hun's clothes and hat, wanting to sneak out quietly before Seo-won woke up. But she had just taken just a few steps. He woke up. Seo-won thought it was Choi-yoon asking him to buy some breakfast and then come back. When he touched Hannah's shoulder, he felt something strange. Why did little son change into another weak man after a night? Seeing that Seo-won had gone into the bathroom, Hannah hurriedly ran away. At that moment, Choi-yoon found Hannah, and when Seo-won stepped out of the bathroom, he thought he was seeing things. Clearly, Choi Il-hun had just gone outside and now suddenly appeared in front of him. Not only that, Choi-yoon's clothes were different from the previous ones. Choi Il-hun immediately changed the topic and came back the bedroom. As the school field trip was approaching, Hannah decided that she had to succeed tonight. She told Choi Il-hun not to fall asleep again. Unfortunately, Seo-won was still awake while Choi-yoon fell asleep. Hannah couldn't wake him up, so she had no choice but to take action on her own. She went to the living room and started wagging her tail and rolling on the floor to make Seo-won happy. She hoped he would come closer so she could find an opportunity to kiss Seo-won. Seeing the dog looking at him with longing eyes, he reached and tried to pet her. Hannah eagerly waited for this special moment. Bo Jaeum opened the door and interrupted everything. Bo Jaeum planned to set off together the next day and wanted to stay here for the night. His purpose for coming here was not just simple like that. All night, her sister could not contact with Choi Il-hun. She entered the code and wanted to take Hannah away directly. But unfortunately, she was stopped by Bo Jaeum. Her sister lied, saying she was the older sister of a classmate of Choi Il-hun, who was also dog's owner. She came here to take the puppy back. Bo Jaeum told to make the most of the remaining time here. After all, a dog can't live as long as a human. The plan once again failed, and Hannah, feeling sad, could only pack her things. She could only hope that there would be no accidents on this field trip. After arriving, Choi-yoon set up a tent for Hannah outside and prepared something for the dog. By that way, he planned for her sleep there at night. Hannah heard the snoring and it was almost midnight. Hannah silently left out of the bed and wanted to go outside. But the female teacher woke up and asked her where she wanted to go. Hannah could say that she wanted to go to the restroom and she laid back on the bed. Waiting for the female teacher and Seo-gun to leave for their task, Hannah quickly slipped past both of them. But Seo-gun still saw her silhouette and hurried over to check. First, he picked up the room key from the floor, then he wanted to find Hannah and ask her why she wanted to go outside. Seo-gun only saw a dog running into the tent, where Hannah slept all night and looked very tired. Seeing that, Seo-won approached and helped her shield from the sun. The colleague believed that Hannah still fell for Bo Jaeum, so she brought the two of them together to go canoeing together. Seo-gun wanted to get on the boat with Hannah, but the female teacher stopped him. When Hannah saw a bug, she got so scared that she stood up and screamed loudly. The boat rocked as Bo Jaeum tried to support Hannah, and the scene of the two holding hands was teased by the students. It made Seo-gun become more jealous. That night, while on her mission, Hannah found the room and knew that 3 students had sneaked out. She immediately went outside to find them. Just then, Seo-gun spotted her, and the two of them went together. They searched around but couldn't find anyone. It was almost midnight when Hannah hurried ahead. Soon after, Seo-gun found the male students and the teacher, returning them to the dormitory. However, Seo-gun couldn't reach Hannah. He hurried to find her and accidentally ran into a puppy. He suspected that it was the relative's puppy that Choi Yun had taken home. At the same time, an elderly woman by the road was holding a dog. Seo-gun anxiously continued his search for Hannah. He didn't know that Hannah, taken by the elderly woman, was trying to ask him for help. Choi Il-hun noticed Hannah was missing from the tent and hurriedly searched for her everywhere. He coincidentally found Hannah's clothes and phone nearby. To find Hannah easily, he took out the whistle he bought earlier and only the dog could hear it. Hannah was taken by the elderly woman and tied up in a forest corner. Sensing something was wrong as the woman seemed intent on cooking the dog. As the elderly woman cooked, Hannah escaped by biting through the rope. She ran to the road, saw Seo-gun searching for her, but accidentally fell into a hole. When she heard Choi Il-hun's whistle, Hannah quickly barked. He had tried for a long time but couldn't rescue her. He dropped Hannah's clothes and ran off to find help. By now, it was 6 a.m., and Hannah had returned to her human form. She threw her shoes onto the road just as Seo-gun returned to look for Hannah, and finally, she was rescued. When pulling Hannah up, she accidentally landed on Seo-gun. Exhausted after a long night, Hannah let him bandage her injured leg, and he carried her back. Bojayam happened to see this scene, and his expression was somewhat indifferent. Suddenly, a girl called out to Bojayam, referring to him as Mr. Her name was Soo-jeon, a new student at the school. She not only acted strangely but also had psychic abilities. It seemed she also had memories of a past life. Because a student's wallet was lost, so Hannah and Seo-won found it together. After finding it, they strolled down the street, unaware that Hannah's ex-boyfriend had spotted them. Hannah had had a boyfriend yet and he immediately took the picture of them. Anything and happily snatched the cotton candy from Seo-gun. Hannah saw Seo-won to show their inner feelings to each other. After a field trip, Seo-won realized that Hannah no longer fell for Bojayam, and he wanted to confess his feelings to Hannah, but unluckily, the female teacher interrupted him. Hannah gradually fell for Seo-gun unconsciously. However, she was also very worried and could only confide her feelings to her cousin. She understood her cousin's feelings from before and truly wanted to keep her relationship with Seo-gun. However, if she wanted that, she had to express everything, which wouldn't be easy for her and Seo-gun to grow closer. They even joked and shared their feelings with each other. Hannah wasn't sure if she should confess her true emotions. Her cousin didn't want his niece to make the same mistakes he had in the past. He hoped she would have the courage to face Seo-gun. So Hannah wanted to reveal the secret to Seo-gun in 30 minutes later. To Seo-won's house. Just as she was about to call him, she happened to see a man calling out for Seo-gun. The man, named Chung-bin, specialized in collecting data and exposing wrongdoing. He has just seen the post uploaded by Hannah's ex-boyfriend. When he looked closely at the photo, he realized that the person he bullied was Seo-gun. He also noticed Hannah in that picture. Seo-gun knew the personality of this person and did not want to communicate too much with them. He quickly discovered Chung-bin's despicable trick. He quickly crushed the pen with his foot. And Seo-gun warned him not to bother him anymore. Anyway, they had both grown up, and as a result, Chung-bin suddenly barked out. He used a dog's bark to remind Seo-gun of the past. And he used that phone to challenge Seo-gun. Seo-gun didn't like that at all. At the same time, Hannah noticed that it was almost midnight. She hurriedly ran into an alley and she was accidentally spotted by Chung-bin. He quickly hurried to the narrow alley. As a result, she saw clothes lying on the ground and a puppy running away. Seo-gun felt worried about Hannah and he called Hannah. But Hannah turned into a puppy and she waited. The next morning, Hannah and her sister returned to the alley to retrieve the clothes, but found nothing. Just then, her sister received a message that their mother was waiting at home. When they returned home, their mother guessed why had gone out early in the morning. Wasn't it because they left their things outside last night, so they went out to find them in the morning? They quickly denied that. Seeing that no one was willing to confess, their mother decided to stay here until evening. It was now 11:57, and after her sister confirmed that their mother was sound asleep, she signaled to Hannah, who cautiously and slowly walked toward the bedroom. Suddenly, the alarm on the phone went off, and Hannah sensed that the situation was not good. She quickly came back the room, but was pulled back by her mother. She asked the daughter when she had a boyfriend, but Hannah didn't dare to answer. She just wanted to come back room to sleep, but her mother continued to hug her. At that moment, it was midnight, and Hannah also turned into a dog. Their mother knew it would be like this, but the mother didn't give up. She required that her sister call Hannah's boyfriend to come over the next day. She had a lot of things to ask him. Hannah just signed at the door. The next morning, her mother prepared breakfast for them. Hannah felt a bit scared. She didn't know if this was a meal for her first kiss or a setup for her own downfall. Her sister told Hannah not be worried because she planned everything well. Thus Hannah saw Choi Yun standing at the front door. Hearing her sister call Choi Il-hun her brother-in-law, Hannah quickly urged him to leave. Unexpectedly, her sister yelled and pulled him into the house. Fortunately, their mother was quite pleased with Choi Yun, but Hannah felt a bit anxious. After all, Choi Il-hun was still a young adult, and if he did that, he could very well end up in jail. Her sister felt that Hannah was overthinking. After all, this was just a performance. In reality, her mother wanted to see Hannah's boyfriend because of her worry. Her daughter was different from others. When the relationship was going well, everything seems to be painted in pink. But when things fell apart and the breakup isn't smooth, the overwhelming worry led it to fear. What if her daughter's secret got spread around, and later she met someone better? And the ex-boyfriend appeared and caused chaos. What would they do then? The relationship between man and woman was so complicated, but Choi Yun found it much simpler. Hannah's transformation into a roll of thread was indeed magical, but it wasn't surprising at all. He hoped that Hannah wouldn't feel insecure because of it, as she was a warm and lovely person. Her mother felt happy when hearing that. The mother asked him if he loved Hannah, and Choi Il-hun confirmed it later, and this made her mother misunderstood about their relationship. At that time Seo Woon called Choi Yun and Choi Yun listened to him. After finishing the phone call, the mother told him to stay over that night. Today, they had to break the curse before she could feel at ease. She directly let him stay in Hannah's room while she personally guarded the door outside. Hannah, feeling helpless, could only tell her mother the truth. The boy she kissed was someone else. The mother then could apologize to Choi Il-hun, while Hannah told him to take a taxi home, but accidentally knew that today was Seo Woon's birthday. So, she and Choi Il-hun appeared before Seo Hun. Seo Hun was both surprised and delighted as Hannah took out the gift she had bought on the way to give to him. Not only that, she also prepared a surprising birthday cake. Afterwards they played outside together. Choi Il-hun wanted to take care of Hannah, but Hannah and Seo Hun were closer than he thought. Hannah and Seo Jun wanted out for a drink, but because of Choi Yun identity, she felt unsuitable. Choi Il-hun didn't want to interfere with the two of them and withdrew from the love triangle. As he turned to leave, tears immediately streamed down his face. At that moment, Seo Hun was about to confess his feelings to Hannah when she interrupted him. Hannah hoped that she would be the one to tell first. Seo Hun quietly waited for Hannah. Before revealing her secret, Hannah took the opportunity to go into the bathroom and practice in front of the mirror, but she still felt uncertain. After returning to the table, Hannah had a few more drinks for courage, and Seo Hun mistakenly thought he had made her uncomfortable, and thus he told her not to say any more since it was unnecessary. So, neither of them expressed their feelings, and the secret remained unspoken. Hannah staggered and felt dizzy as she stepped out of the bar. She not only admired the flowers by the roadside but also leaned on Seo Hun's shoulder. Seo Hun gently touched her head. Last time, Hannah was changed into a dog, and it took away her belongings. He explored about the environment where Hannah was working and also found her parents' fried chicken restaurant. Tonight he went to school to gather information related to Hannah. Seo Hun also saw him and sensed that something was very suspicious. The next day, he went to the fried chicken restaurant to talk to Hannah's father and requested to see pictures of Hannah. Hannah's father was about to show pictures of their daughter when Hannah's mother immediately stopped him. Chong Bin was very angry. Instead of leaving after going outside, he hid nearby. He listened to the conversation between Hannah's parents and gathered important information about Hannah's uncle, turned into a puppy and currently living in a pet shop. Chong Bin quickly sent someone to take the dog to the pet shop to gather information. When the shop owner wasn't focusing, he took out a small camera and placed it in a spot where no one could easily see it. That evening, Hannah talked to sister and decided to tell Seo Woon the truth, because she knew that Seo Woon was believable. Her sister advised her to think carefully. In the past, her sister had a boyfriend who also turned into a dog like Hannah. To become human again, she had revealed the secret to her boyfriend. As a result, the boyfriend didn't keep the secret. He not only recorded a video but also blackmailed her, leading Hannah's mother to spend a lot of money. The mother demanded that the man delete the video and kiss the dog. Only then did her sister successfully turn back into a human. Until now her sister was fearful about the incident and they didn't know that Chong Bin had overheard this conversation. He suspected that the sister's ex-boyfriend still had the video. So, he spent a lot of money to buy evidence and asked the ex-boyfriend to record the family's secrets. Hannah and Seo Gwon arranged to meet. Seo Gwon happened to notice a shady figure trying to approach Hannah. He panicked and immediately ran to embrace Hannah. Seo Gwon quickly subdued the stranger approaching her, but surprisingly, it was Hannah's biological father and he witnessed Seo Gwon protect his daughter. The father asked Seo Gwon if he had stolen his daughter's first kiss, but suddenly his father wanted to reveal the truth about Hannah's transformation into a puppy. Hannah came and prevented it. Afterwards Hannah told the truth to his father. She was afraid that when Seo Woon knew the truth, he would keep away from her. When the father met Hannah's mother a few days later, he took a risk and begged to marry her. She simply sat quietly and spoke about the curse. At first, the father couldn't believe it, he felt very scared and even considered running away. But when he saw his wife's shaking hands, he felt heartbroken. He reassured Hannah, believing that Seo Gwon would trust her too. What he hoped for was that Hannah could find relief from the worries in her heart. Her father's words gave Hannah the courage she needed. After returning home, she explained every detail to Seo Gwon so he would know the truth, and she received a photo from a strange man. The outfit was the one she had lost in recent change into a puppy. The partner required Hannah meet at the location at 11 p.m. Hannah, along with her sister, went to the warehouse. Chongbin threw the clothes on the ground and took the video evidence, and demanded Hannah to bring all family's savings or else the secret would be revealed. He would let Seo Gun know that the person he liked was a puppy. The two sisters, feeling helpless, told their parents everything. Chongbin had also posted about it online. He announced that he would soon deliver some hot news to everyone. The mother ordered everyone to take the day off tomorrow and stay home. Seo Gwon felt worried because Hannah didn't come to school due to her sickness. When he left the office, he ran into Choi Yun, who was engaged in the game. The partnet showed him the game screen and said that he was feeding the dog. At that moment, Seo Gwon realized that the dog his classmate was referring to was a character in the game. He called Choi Il-hun to ask about the dog and why he couldn't reveal Hannah's secret, then lied to his classmate about having a dog with the same name as the one in the game. Seo Gwon found nothing suspicious, so he let Choi Il-hun go. Then, he went to Hannah's house and left porridge at her door for her. He then texted Hannah, wishing her a speedy recovery. Seeing Seo Gwon's thoughtfulness, her sister felt guilty for causing trouble for Hannah. If she hadn't been with her ex, this wouldn't have happened. Meanwhile, Hannah's parents were breaking into the house to restrain him. They used a fingerprint to unlock the phone and found Chongbin's address. Meanwhile, the video of the female teacher turning into a dog was drawing many students at school. Seo Gwon knew Chongbin was behind this. That night, he went to Chongbin's house and knocked him to the ground. He warned him not to post anything related to Hannah again. Chongbin intentionally ran away, leading Seo Gwon to a familiar place. He also ordered his men to bring a dog with them, wanting to make Seo Gwon's nightmare happen again. As the dog got closer, Seo Gwon couldn't control his psychological fear and froze, unable to move. Chongbin hit him from behind with a stick, knocking him to the ground. At that moment, Hannah's parents had broken into Chongbin's place. They discovered many photos of Hannah plastered on the walls, along with numerous videos of her saved on the computer. Furious, they took the computer equipment and had the sister's ex-boyfriend call Chongbin to lure him back. When Chongbin returned and saw the messy house, he angrily called Hannah. He showed her Seo Gwon lying on the ground, threatening her to come to the location quickly, or Seo Gwon's life would be in danger. Worried that something might happen to Seo Gwon, Hannah went to the meeting place alone. Chongbin started a live stream, wanting everyone to witness Hannah transform into a dog at midnight. Someone commented that if he kissed Hannah, she might turn into a dog. To satisfy the fans' curiosity, he decided to kiss Hannah. At the critical moment, Seo Gwon charged in and knocked him down. It turned out that Seo Gwon had mocked Chongbin's accomplices, comparing them to that dog. They were just his henchmen, which allowed him to run and rescue Hannah. Seeing that it was almost midnight, Hannah hurriedly ran away. Seo Gwon quickly chased after her, eager to uncover Hannah's true secret. Hannah cried in the heavy rain, wanting to reveal the truth but unable to do so. Just as she hesitated, it struck midnight, and she changed into a dog right in front of Seo Gwon. Seo Gwon gently picked up the dog. Memories of Hannah flashed in his mind. If that really was you, then I wouldn't feel afraid. Hannah finally succeeded in breaking the curse. Seo Gwon also expressed his feelings, telling her that he liked Hannah. Hannah explained that he was the one who helped her break the curse. Then even if they kissed 100 or 1,000 times, she wouldn't be transformed again. So, she wanted to kiss him one more time. Upon hearing that, Seo Gwon kissed Hannah gently. Finally, they officially confirmed their relationship. Bojayam recalled the past's memories. It turned out that it was the curse he placed on Hannah's family. He had told Hannah in a past life that if any descendants fell in love and kissed their partner, would turn into a puppy. Just when you prove your true love to your partner, you would become a human again. Outside it rained heavily and Bo Jiam woke up and went to find Chongbin. He moved his finger and tossed the opponent aside, and used magic to make him forget everything. When Chongbin woke up, he didn't remember what had happened. After Bo Jiam left, past memories resurfaced once more. He was originally a revered mountain god. A girl thanked him for saving her mother. She used stones to show respect for the mountain god. It would last for so many years. One day Bo Jiam appeared behind the girl and pretended to mountain god's friend. Upon hearing from her, he knew that her name was Cho Rong. Before sleeping, they whispered and called each other. In the morning, they began the countdown to repeat the time. Choi Yun saw his uncle smile and guessed they had been together. He sincerely the two and also told to his uncle. If Seo Woon dated Hannah, he needed to remember something. First, he shouldn't ask her to do something what a puppy often does. Kan nu den chuan tsa fi ti dung goi tsa fi, and if they went to a cafe, he should order cocoa for her instead of coffee. Occasionally, he should take care of her, even if she pretended not to want it. At school, Choi Yun said to Hannah, when he made fried eggs, he must shape them like a face. And that face-shaped egg must be saved for last, otherwise, he will sulk. Sometimes, he closed his eyes in the elevator and tried to open them at the floor he guesses. Not only that, he always wanted to do math assignments. In the morning meeting, the vice principal gave some requirements at school. Almost teachers couldn't express the inner feelings, but all the couples couldn't control their own feelings. Always find ways and take the chance to glance and touch when running into each other. They secretly met in the hallway when no one was watching. The usually empty gym had become their ideal dating spot. When they were about to kiss each other, a group of students arrived. They could hide behind the curtain. Suddenly, a student pressed the button to open the curtain, causing them to move aside with it. Neither of them knew that they faced a crisis as the vice principal entered the secret room to meet Bo Jiam. It turned out that, like Bo Jiam, he was not an ordinary human. He needed to obey the Borgyeom's requirements. He wanted to persuade Bo Jiam to stop and return to the mountain. But Bo Jiam didn't want to stop, as he had never left his mountain to come here in the first place. What we have experienced, they must feel as well. Vice Principal Lulai Du went to the temple and bought many charms for everyone. He personally handed Hannah the charm that Bo Jiam had given him. As Hannah put it on, she saw a woman in ancient attire. She followed inside, but she couldn't see anyone. She only found a scarf in a box, and suddenly, a few fragments flashed in her mind. She sensed that the scarf before her was indeed hers. Then she saw the mural on the wall. She was shocked to see that the woman in the mural looked just like her, and she fainted, collapsing to the floor. Borgyeom entered and took her to the infirmary. After waking up, she continued thinking about what she had seen before. She suspected that those two items were connected to her past life. Tonight, her sister was jealous of Hannah for finding her true love. And after experiencing that failed love, it was hard for her to feel excited again. Yutes comforted her, pressing his lips together and moving closer. She suddenly wanted to kiss him and she told this story to Hannah. However, she thought it was just because she was craving food that she felt this way. Hannah also felt uneasy, as she kept staring at CO1 while eating with him. She was not curious at all. The sister sent messages and told her not to come back home, because she wanted to confirm the feelings for Yute. CO1 directly invited Hannah to his house tonight to casually hang out with friends. Hannah received her sister's messages and she told Hannah to come back home. To spend more time with CO1, Hannah lied that her sister needed a bit more time. Seeing CO1 cut fruit, Hannah once again fell into a hallucination. Every move of Xiao-wen captivated her. And he couldn't control his own feelings and he was approaching Hannah closer. Suddenly, there was a sound of the door opening, and both of them were so scared that they quickly hid. Hannah hid in Choi Yun's bedroom. The person who entered was Bo Jiam. Seeing Bo Jiam about to open Choi Yun's door, CO1 quickly intervened. He lied, saying that Choi Yun wasn't feeling well and was resting. Unexpectedly, he deceived Bo Jiam. There was a sound from the door. CO1 came out to prevent Choi Yun. He said he needed to talk to Bo Jiam and asked Choi Yun to step outside for a moment. Seeing Bo Jiam was there, Choi Yun ran into the house. Xiao-wen reluctantly explained to him and said that Choi Yun had just left without saying. Choi Yun returned to his room to pack his things, but he couldn't open the door. During that time, Hannah hid behind the door and felt worried. Seeing the door about to open, Hannah quickly hid inside the closet. CO1 breathed in relief when he didn't see Hannah. Afterwards CO1 opened a film to see with Hannah and they soon fell asleep. Then Xiao-wen rushed quickly to look for Hannah. Hannah was sleeping and CO1 gazed at her and touched her affectionately. Seeing Hannah in a daze, CO1 couldn't hold himself and they kissed each other in wardrobe. And he took Hannah back home. They didn't know that Bojayam had already opened his eyes and saw everything. The next day, she wanted to know why Dusio had fainted. Bojayam took her to the secret room, but this time, the scarf in the box had disappeared. The mural had also changed into a different painting. Chia suggested doing a tarot reading for Bojayam, asking him to choose 3 cards. The first card revealed that he was a noble person. The second card indicated that, although he appeared cheerful on the outside, a strange wind swirled around him internally. Though the black part resembled a flowing empty mountain, it was actually a vast expanse filled with towering reeds. The third card showed him wandering around the gates of hell, longing for someone who had passed away. Thus, Bojayam had left behind a lush green forest for a woman who had died, wandering like a lost soul in this place. But that person didn't him to do so. The long-hidden scar of Bojayam finally revealed itself. He could never forget his beautiful memories. Tonight, Bojayam sat in the car, holding the pendant that Hannah had given to Seo-won. At the same time, Seo-won realized that his pendant was missing. While searching, he received a call from Bojayam, and soon after, Seo-won met him. Seo-won found everywhere for Bojayam and accidentally spotted the pendant on the table. He bent down to pick it up, and Bojayam suddenly swung his sword at Seo-won. In the past life, Seo-won once pushed Chi-A to the edge of a cliff and even pressed a blade to her throat. The next day, Seo-won and Hannah invited to eat a meal together. Seo-won told about his suspicions and he found out that Bojayam seemed a bit strange. Yesterday, he had met Bojayam. Bojayam had pressed the sword against his neck, and he thought Bojayam was joking. But he said something that Seo-won couldn't understand. Once a blade has tasted blood, it will crave it, longing for that scent. As for its owner, they wouldn't know what it would feel like. Although Bojayam calmly told Seo-won to leave, his expression seemed to hold many secrets. Hannah thought about Bojayam's usual behavior. She simply thought he was just joking and might be sulking at Seo-won for coming empty-handed. The next day, they planned to hang out, but Hannah unexpectedly went down with fever. Hannah's sister just called Seo-won and asked him to take care of her. Hannah mistakenly thought that Seo-won was appearing in her dream. She even asked him if he wanted to lie down together. Seo-won carefully lay next to Hannah, and she felt very warm. The scent of Seo-won was also very pleasant. When Hannah woke up, she realized this wasn't a dream. Feeling embarrassed, she turned to other side, but Seo-won held her tightly. Soon, teachers and students went on a field trip to the museum. Hannah seized the chance to get closer to Seo-won, and they secretly walked together. Chi happened to see this scene. Suddenly, memories from her past life crossed in her mind. At that time, Seo-won was a wealthy young master in the village. He often visited his teacher's house, where Hannah worked as a servant. Quickly, they became acquainted, and feelings began to develop from there. When Hannah was injured, Seo-won secretly delivered medicine to her. During an unfortunate incident, Hannah accidentally soaked Seo-won's clothes. Worried he might catch a cold, Hannah gave him a warm hug. But the sweet romance didn't last long. An incident suddenly occurred at Seo-won's teacher's house. Seo-won received news that his teacher was suspected of treason and had been shot while being pursued. To eliminate the threat, they ordered Seo-won to kill both Hannah and the child she was carrying. Before that, Seo-won had gone to warn them before the soldiers arrived. At the same time, he helped Hannah and the teacher escape, but the 3 of them quickly became surrounded by pursuers. To protect the teacher, Hannah took off her cloak and lured the soldiers away. Meanwhile, Seo-won wore a mask to protect Hannah. However, while escaping, the teacher accidentally fell off a cliff. Just then, the mountain god appeared and took her back to a snowy cabin on the mountain. When the teacher was still a young girl, she had offered stones to the mountain god, and the mountain god had also been drawn to her. In many years he always waited for her. They didn't believe that they would see each other in this circumstances. Hannah found the cabin under the guidance of the mountain god. Even with Hannah's presence, it couldn't soothe the pain of losing her child for the teacher. The teacher, in her anguish, walked over to the edge of the cliff. At that moment, the mountain god appeared behind her, holding a small dog. He told the teacher that the child had not yet crossed over to the other side. All this time, the soul had been following its mother and then entered a dying puppy. Cho-rong believed it to be true, while Hannah was very worried about Seo-won's safety. She confirmed that she no longer intended to seek death, said her goodbyes, and descended the mountain to find her love. At that moment, Seo-won was being tortured. If he didn't reveal the whereabouts of the teacher and Hannah, he would be executed. Meanwhile, the mountain god was happily by the teacher's side. He not only taught the teacher how to fly a kite but also took turns playing the roles of the puppy's mother and father. Cho-rong braided the mountain god's hair, and they began to grow their feelings. Cho-rong kissed the mountain god and felt the mortal love. They promised to meet at the beach to release lanterns together. However, the teacher wanted to wait for Hannah to return before handing the puppy back and then going. Sun's dog had seen Hannah with her large belly in the village. She seemed to be looking for something. If she teamed up with CO1 to betray Rong, they could ensure their safety. However, the mountain god believed that Hana would not do such things, since they grew up together and they were close. The mountain god wrapped a scarf around Cho Rong and said that the wind at the beach is very cold. Hopefully, this would help Cho Rong avoid catching a cold, but the soldiers tried to surround and find them. The mountain god told Cho Rong to run and hide in the tent while he fought the soldiers alone. However, Cho Rong ran outside and was spotted by the pursuers. The mountain god saw Cho Rong's scarf fall down the ground. He quickly beat the soldiers and ran to find Cho Rong. He actually saw CO1 pointing a sword at Cho Rong, with Hana beside her. The god wanted to run to save Cho Rong, but unfortunately, an enemy stabbed him in the stomach. When he turned around, he saw Cho Rong fall straight down the cliff. Filled with rage, the god dealt with the attackers and then went to Cho Rong's side. He felt sorrowful and held Cho Rong in his arms. He also realized that the dagger buried in Cho Rong was CO1's. The burdens from the past life continued into this one. Tonight, Borgium quietly went to Hana's pet shop. He used his powers to stop Hana's heart. The psychic girl Chie saw the entire memory from the past life, and she finally remembered that she was Cho Rong in the past life. She went to find Borgium and discovered Sun, whose face shone like the moon. Although his words were harsh, his eyes were kind. The mountain god stayed in the human world for hundreds of years. Finally he could find his lover. However, he warned her that she would be punished if she continued using her powers. And he also announced that all memories were in the past. She should live her own life peacefully, but Chia didn't want to live like that. Since she could see Borgium's hurtings and she wanted to beside and help him. But he quickly denied and told her not to find him anymore. At the same time, Hana's uncle, after being enchanted by Borgium, transformed back into a human. The family was overjoyed, but this had never happened in the curse. Hana and her sister used some ancient references to uncover the reason. Hana accidentally found a piece of paper with the curse of Sun written on it, but she didn't understand its meaning. Afterwards he called CO1 and told him about that. She guessed something written on it was useless, because as a mountain god, he was meant to help humanity. Just after finishing her call with CO-gun, Hana encountered Borgium, who had been waiting for her for a long time. At that moment, Borgium no longer showed himself as a humble gentleman. It's quite comfortable to date in human form, isn't it? I was the one who set that curse. The curse that turned her into a dog made Hana afraid to think about Borgium's true identity. Terrified, she ran away. But in the next moment, Borgium used his magic, and as her sister stepped out the door, she was transformed into a dog. Hana asked Borgium who he really was. Borgium told Hana to take her time and think carefully. Before leaving, he also told Hana that he had been beside her for long. When Borgium left, her sister also turned back to human beings. But Hana felt something so strange. Due to Borgeometry's sayings, she began to find her childhood photo album to see. And of course she saw Borgomid in. Hana quickly remembered that she and her sister were playing happily at that time. An uncle came over and gave them some snacks. And right now she ensured that person was Borgium. Tomorrow Hana told that story to CO1 and he thought it unbelievable. He didn't understand why Borgium had done that. CO1 found Borgium to clarify the issue, but Borgium, with a cheerful expression, told him, "See you later, kiddo." This saying reminded him of the past. He went outside alone and encountered a large, fierce dog. As it lunged at him, he closed his eyes in fear, and everything suddenly stopped. When he opened his eyes, the large dog was no longer moving. A man approached and said to him, "See you later." CO1 realized that Borgium had been watching him and Hana since they were young. He believed that Borgium did that to achieve some goals, and Borgium told him that everything would be clear. Hana was surprised to receive a call from her mother, who told her that her uncle had turned into a dog. She was sure that Borgium caused it, so she asked Borgium why he treated her that way. To her surprise, Borgium called her name from a previous life. Hana immediately knelt down as a memories of past life crossed her mind. The mountain god pointed at Hana. He believed that Cho Rong's servant should also die with her. The mountain god then interrogated Hana fiercely. "Was the betrayal for the child in your womb or for your love?" the mountain god asked. Hana replied without defense, saying she had no regrets about her body. She pleaded with the mountain god to spare the child in her womb. The god withdrew his sword and decided to make the child pay for her sins. He then cursed that if her descendants fell in love and kissed, they would turn into dogs. They had to prove their supervisor to turn into humans. This curse had been passed from through generations. Hana cried as she recalled this, finally understanding why the curse had befallen her family. At that moment, Borgium gave her two choices: family or love. To remove the curse, Seo Woon's memories would have to be erased. This meant that Seo Woon would forget his love feelings. Choosing between lifting the curse and keeping her love was up to Hannah, and Bojang gave her a day to think. After Seo Woon knew that, he found Bojium and Bojium told Seo Won to delete their memories. But Seo Won promised to fall in love again whatever happened. Seo Woon took Hannah to the beach, where her family had been haunted by the curse. She realized she couldn't selfishly focus on their love. Seo Woon reluctantly agreed with Hannah, accepting that she would forget him, and promised he would find her again. They faced losing each other, but they didn't know that their fate in this life was consequence of past lives. In their past life, Seo Woon was a young lord who fell in love with a maid. As they spent time together, the two secretly fell in love. Chorong often caught them on their dates. She also tried her best to create opportunities for the young lovers. She hoped the couples in love would be together until an unexpected event happened to Chorong's husband. To protect them, Seo Woon was captured after Hannah and Chorong stayed with the mountain god. Hannah always prayed for Seo Woon and their child. That night, Chorong asked Hannah if she had named the child yet. Hannah decided that if it was a boy, she would name him Sun Un after Seo Won's name in the past, and if it was a girl, she would name Cho A. Chorong waited for the baby and she believed this baby would be the most beautiful one in the world. However, a long time passed without any news from Seo Woon. Hannah began to go to the village to find Seo Won's sign. Knowing that Seo Woon was captured and he refused to reveal Hannah and Chorong, so he would lead to execution, Hannah pleaded with the Lord to spare Seo Woon's life. She would do whatever he wanted. Seeing that the Lord ignored her, Hannah revealed Chorong's hiding place. Seo Woon saw that Hannah had no memory of their relationship, completely forgetting that they were lovers. Seo Woon looked into Hannah's unfamiliar eyes, and his heart sank little by little. He just thought he would be the one to lose his memories, but it was Hannah. He angrily asked Bogyu why he had deleted Hannah's memories. Bojang just wanted Seo Won to know the pain of losing his lover. Seo Woon was determined that even if he lost his memories, he would always beside and love Hannah. Seo Woon went alone to somewhere, and their love memories vividly replayed in his mind. He also recalled the last date at the beach, and Hannah said to him that, "If you ever lose my memories and want to win me back, just buy me lots of sweets." The next morning, Seo Woon immediately brought Hannah her favorite cake. But unluckily Hannah was full, so she gave it to her colleague. Although he failed at the first time, he continued doing her work well. Just as Hannah had helped Seo Woon before, he thoughtfully cleaned up Hannah's desk. But Hannah refused his offerings. Seo Woon recalled the time he rejected Hannah, but she didn't give up and invited him for drinks after work. Seo Won asked Hannah to drink some wine, but Hannah said that it would be better for another time. When he had the chance to invite everyone out again, Seo Woon was once more turned down. He sat at his desk and once again mimicked Hannah's invitation for drinks. He gifted her hand an ice cream and imitated Hannah's words and gestures from before. She considered his reactions weird and she left afterwards. Seo Won felt so depressed at that moment. He noticed Hannah greeting the students, her hands seeming cold. He stepped forward and handed Hannah the hand cream. Just as he was about to say something to Hannah, Bojayam appeared and called her away. He could only regretfully hold back the words he wanted to say. So Hannah and Seo Won had to accept the punishment. Bo Geometry temporarily erased the Persa's Hannah generations. Hannah's uncle turned into human, and the family was overjoyed. They completely forgot that this was the second time her uncle had returned to being human. It turned out that Bojayam not only erased Hannah's memories but also wiped everyone's memories involved. Seo Won also realized that Choi Yun forgot about Hannah and Seo Won's love relationship. My school conducted a thorough cleaning to prepare for the opening day. Hannah accidentally fell off her chair while cleaning the windows. At that time, Seo Won rushed over and hugged her afterwards. And suddenly Hannah found her feelings quite familiar and a group students told them to date each other. Seo Woon was pleased with the students' support, while Hannah felt very embarrassed. A little while later, Seo Won bought a cake to apologize for students' behavior. The cake was exactly like the one before, and Hannah found it strange that Seo Woon had similar tastes to hers. Seo Woon wanted to take this opportunity to tell Hannah about their relationship. But suddenly Bo Jiam arrived. Seeing Bo Jiam intentionally approach Hannah and even help her fix her hair filled Seo Woon with jealousy. She confessed his feelings to Hannah, but she refused, because she already liked someone else. Seo Woon realized that Bo Jiam was intentionally trying to win Hannah over for some reason. Bo Jiam admitted that he would intentionally stand between them. He found it amusing to see Seo Woon's worried expression. Seo Won couldn't no longer control his anger. He punched Bo Jiam, but Hannah came over and pushed Seo Woon away. Seo Woon's hand was bleeding from the shards, but in Hannah's eyes, there was only Bo Jiam. Seo-won walked to the tree where they had once. Hana unexpectedly appeared in his mind and acknowledged that she was more difficult than she thought. But whatever happened, you shouldn't give up. Then she gradually disappeared and he cried a lot after her disappearance. He felt sad because of unable to make Hana love him again. Hana saw a note on the calendar that read Western Sea. She was sure it was her handwriting, but she couldn't remember when she had written it. And she coincidentally saw the similar note on the Seo-won's calendar. And she also asked Seo-won if he would go to the Western Sea this weekend. At that moment, she noticed a dog-shaped pendant on Seo-won's bag. A similar feeling arose within her. Upon hearing from Seo-won, she felt a little bitter in her heart. She left empathetic with his feelings. Chia could see the distance between Seo-won and Hana. She had heard Choi Yoon mention that they had been on the love relationship before, but now Hana considered Seo-won as a stranger. And Choi Yoon also forgot about their current love status between Hana and Seo-won. Chia knew that just Seo-won could know whatever had happened in the past. Chia suspected that Bo Jium was responsible for her fate in the past life. He blamed for Hana and Seo-won, so Hana memories had been disappeared. Chia wanted to know about her death's reason. However, Bo Jium didn't let her know the reason. To find answers, Chia met the vice principal to ask about her fate in the past life. Choi Yoon heard that Chia was about to experience her past life, and he insisted on going with her. Chia sighed, thinking that Seo-won must be feeling lonely right now, and she shared with Choi Yoon the love story between Seo-won and Hana. To help his uncle, Choi Yoon lied about having an urgent matter and invited Hana to his house. Hana believed that it was true and hurried to the house and realized that Seo-won lived here. Seo-won knew that she forget about relationship between Choi Yoon and him. Hana was confused when Seo-jun considered Choi Yoon as his nephew. Of course, it was the first time she had come to Choi Yoon's house, but she found it very familiar. Her mind and heart felt disconnected, sharing the same body yet resembling two different people. She was not clear about her own heart. She couldn't understand clearly her thoughts. Seo-won helped Hana rehearse the memories that they had kissed each other. In the next moment, Hana ran out the door and stood in the corner, waiting to transform into a dog. However, this change didn't happen and it left Hana feel very confused. Her sister also couldn't understand why their uncle still remembered his memories as a dog. He said that Hana's curse had been broken by Seo-won. She considered it as a far-fetched story. She said that why Hana could kiss Seo-won when she loved Bo Jium. The next day Hana deliberated avoided Seo-won. Seo-won knew that it would be difficult for her to accept everything and he would wait for her. And she would know her inner feelings and everything would come back. The uncle believed that Hana and Seo-won had once been in the love relationship. Her uncle happened to see the Hana and Seo-won's photos in a box. When she brought the photos to meet Hana and the vice principal found it. The vice principal feared that she would regain the memories after seeing photos. So he used dog food to trick her uncle while also preventing him from talking. Hana found her uncle in the playground, looking very worried. But when he opened the mouth, what he heard was a dog's bark. Hana told her uncle to take out the phone and discovered that he forgot how to write. Hana felt confused when uncle pulled out the vice principal and pointed at his neck. Hana quickly realized that the vice principal made his uncle unable to talk. She quickly rushed to vice principal and she ran into her photos with Seo-won. And after that, it included the word Seo-ha. Hana recalled what Seo-won had said to her before. She believed that she had forgotten important memories. As Hana left the office, she encountered Bo Jium. She remembered asking him why he treated her that way. Bo Jium said similar words as before, saying that the choice between love and family was up to Hana. The reason he treated Hana this way was because, in their past life, she had been selfish and cruel, betraying her lineage. Hana required that Bo Jium return the memories she had forgotten. However, Bo Jium frankly denied. Hana believed that they were temporarily far away and they would see once again. Bo Jium took out Chorong's relic. Unfortunately, the love between the two had ended in their past life. Even if he used a curse or took away their memories, they would still love each other as before. The only way to separate them was for everything to fall into hell. The vice principal requested the students to explore a small house on the mountain, with Hana as the supervising teacher. Meanwhile, Jia was talking to Seo-won. She revealed that Hongji Mountain was where she had died in her past life. She also caught a glimpse of Seo-won and Hana's past lives. The shadow from their past lives still loomed over all of them. Now, they needed to stop Hana from going to Hongji Mountain, because erasing Hana's memories was not the final blow yet. Hana knew this trip was very dangerous, but in order to regain her memories, she accepted Bo Jium's arrangement. Seo-won couldn't stop Hana, so he decided to go with her. The next day Hana and Seo-won took the students to the mountain. Inside the small house on the mountain, a woman with long hair appeared suddenly, dressed in white. Everyone ran away in fear, but Chia knew it was just the vice principal in disguise. Hannah ran into the forest alone to search for the students. She accidentally sprained her ankle, and Seo Woon helped her check the injury. Hannah immediately recalled the scene of Seo Woon helping her treat her injury. Hannah tried to remember memories, unaware that danger happened. Bo-Jayam had unleashed fierce dogs, and Hannah and Seo Woon were being chased by them. Hearing the barking of the dogs, Chia had a bad feeling and quickly ran to find Bo-Jayam. At that moment, she turned into Cho-Rong from her past life, recalling the mountain god's sayings to the sea, but they have met each other in the mountain. Cho-Rong reached out to wipe away her tears, and the mountain god recalled the scenes from their past life. The memories evoked each other, but finally it left so much regret. In their past life, Hannah had revealed Cho-Rong's hiding place to save Seo Woon from prison, but then she quickly denied it, ultimately to buy time. She lied that she could bring Cho-Rong into the village, so Hannah, who was innocent, was released. She immediately ran back to the mountain to inform Cho-Rong to leave quickly. However, she was unaware that the soldiers had secretly been following her. They quickly found Cho-Rong's hiding place. Just when both of them were about to be killed, Seo Woon appeared in time, but the subordinates had secretly released Seo Woon. Seo Woon knew that Hannah was pregnant, and he vowed to protect her at all costs. The three of them tried to escape, but there was a cliff ahead. Countless officers and soldiers were chasing after them. Seo Woon single-handedly took down the guards. However, many archers gathered around Seo Woon, and unfortunately, he was struck by arrows. Cho-Rong chose death to save the Hannah's child. When the deity turned around, he believed that Hannah and Seo Woon had killed Cho-Rong. Hannah brought Seo Woon to a safe place, but his wounds were too severe. Before he passed away, he hoped Hannah would tell their child that their father was a very gentle person. Finally, he lost consciousness and Seo Woon remembered the first time he met Hannah. He would want to meet Hannah again. The mountain deity finally understood the truth. His obsession and curse were, in fact, a mistake. He asked Cho-Rong if her choice was to give up herself and abandon him. I want to save them when I think of the child who has never felt the sunlight or the wind. The mountain deity was heartbroken because, in that noble choice, he was not included. But for Cho-Rong, the mountain god was a kite soaring high in the sky. But if she had known that she turned herself into a blade stabbing into his heart, and if she had known it would shatter like that, she would have severed her feelings long ago. Cho-Rong embraced the mountain deity one last time, hoping he would let go of all pain and sorrow and return to where he truly belonged. At that moment, a vicious dog charged toward Hannah and Seo Woon. Seo Woon quickly shielded Hannah, and suddenly, the vicious dog transformed into a cloud of black smoke and vanished without a trace. And Hannah began to remember everything she had experienced with Seo Woon. The lost memories were restored, and Seo Woon finally waited for Hannah. They embraced each other tightly. They held each other tightly, and Hannah had also restored her memories. The school had changed, and Vice Principal Bo-Jayam suddenly disappeared. No one knew where he had gone. The love story between Hannah and Seo Woon remained in a subtle state. They exchanged notes every day to talk about their love. Today, a special guest arrived at the school. The director invited Seo Woon to participate in a dating show for singles. His colleagues urged Seo Woon to join, claiming the female guest had an impressive background and would be a great match for him. Hannah stood across and overheard this. Unable to bear it any longer, she immediately left the office. Seo Woon immediately chased after her, angrily pulling Hannah back and wanting to declare their relationship. We have something to say. Finally, you're willing to go public, huh? Oh my, you should have kept it a secret for another year. The school would soon hold a drama festival, which coincidentally fell on Seo Woon's birthday. Hannah thought so much to prepare for his birthday party. Her sister required Hannah to take Seo Woon to meet their parents. Hannah imagined the scene where Seo Woon would meet his parents, greeted by a table full of fried chicken. Her parents would wait until Seo Woon finished eating and then ask him to choose a fried chicken dish not available in stores. If you want to be our son-in-law, you'd better do it right. Thinking about this, it made Hannah worried and confused. Her sister suggested that Hannah take Seo Woon to the small house in the mountains where she recalled her memories. Hannah daydreamed about what it would be like after bringing Seo Woon inside. Her sister suddenly appeared with a bouquet of flowers, and Hannah truly couldn't think of any better ideas. The next day her sister took Yutet to meet their parents. Her parents immediately questioned Yutet about why he broke up with his girlfriend in college. Yutet admitted that he was dumped by his girlfriend out of jealousy because he helped a friend pick up food that had fallen into his shoelaces. And that girlfriend was Hannah's sister, leaving her parents speechless. Seeing the two of them joking around in front of her, their mother complained that they were being too silly. Not only her sister, Hannah also found a new rival. This person was the female teacher who had previously pursued Seo Woon. However, Hannah's cousin still couldn't talk. He could only remain silent in front of others. At that moment, he was captivated by a pastry shaped like a puppy, and he immediately talked. However, he choked on it and couldn't breathe. The female teacher noticed something was wrong and immediately rushed to help. Hannah's cousin vomited something strange and was so relieved that he began to talk excitedly. But the sound that came out was a dog's bark, causing the female teacher to run away in fear. Meanwhile, Hannah and Seo-woon went to volunteer at the dog shelter. Thanks to Hannah, Seo-woon was no longer afraid of dogs. The staff asked him to name the puppy, and Seo-woon chose the name Dokgu. Actually, it was the puppy's name that Cho-rong had raised in a past life, and Seo-won's duty was to take Dokgu home of the owner. When Seo-woon told the other person that Dokgu was having diarrhea, the other person belittled it and believed that Dokgu would be fine if he didn't feed it. Seo-woon immediately pulled the leash and rushed Dokgu to the hospital. Hannah felt so happy since Seo-won was not afraid of puppies anymore. Seo-woon said that compared to no longer being afraid of dogs, what mattered more was that he could comfortably share these moments with Hannah. It felt like a wonderful gift. This statement inspired Hannah to rewrite the story between herself and Seo-woon. She adapted it into a play for the students to perform. In the blink of an eye, the day of the school festival arrived. Hannah aimed to heal her heartbroken cousin. She specially invited her cousin to the school to attend the drama festival. Seo-woon went to meet her cousin, who couldn't speak. He could only use his phone to convey what he wanted to say. Hannah had important tasks to attend to, so she asked Seo-woon to help take care of her cousin. Her cousin complained to Seo-woon that he could clearly talk, but ever since he met a skinny person at this school, that person had turned his voice into that of a puppy. Seo-woon carefully listened through the expressions on his face, and it was clear he understood what her cousin was saying. Today, the vice principal also attended the festival and happened to pass by her cousin. Her cousin quickly recognized the vice principal and immediately chased after him. Seo-woon hurriedly chased after him and quickly caught up with the vice principal. Her cousin used puppy sounds to demand that the vice principal return his voice. The vice principal was surprised that his magical power had such a lasting effect. He asked her cousin to sit down, thinking he would cast a spell. To his surprise, the vice principal taught him pronunciation and explained that her cousin could recover as long as he practiced repeatedly. Her cousin felt discouraged, thinking the vice principal was playing a trick on him, and he barked loudly out of worry. After that, Seo-woon took her cousin home, but he ordered Seo-woon to stop by the roadside. After seeing her cousin enter the house, Seo-woon received a video from Hannah and watched the play. He realized that these were the sweet memories between him and Hannah. Seo-woon felt very touched as he saw Hannah standing in front of him. He ran towards her, thanking Hannah for the birthday gift she had prepared for him. This was the best gift he had ever received. Seo-woon stepped forward and embraced Hannah. She took the initiative to kiss him first. They couldn't help but kiss each other, lost in the moment. In the following days, everyone lived a normal life. Hannah's sister and Yutet were preparing to get married, and her cousin regained his ability to speak. He found the female teacher and expressed his love for her. After that, he said his goodbyes and left, returning home, and continuously told Hannah's parents about the female teacher he liked. The female teacher's mind was also constantly on her cousin. After receiving a call from her cousin, she felt happier than ever. She had also found Bo-jayum and told him to live a good life. At the same time, she hoped Bo-jayum could let her go and never think about the past. After talking, Chia took Bo-jayum to the beach to release lanterns, to compensate for regrets of the past. In the past, Korong hoped to make a wish by releasing lanterns. She hoped Bo-geometry was always happy and fine. It was also time for Bo-geometry to say goodbye the past. Seo-won and Hannah prepared to take Dokgu outside and her sister arrived. She brought various beverages for puppies. Seo-woon pointed at the food and jokingly asked Hannah which flavor she used to like. Hannah was so annoyed that she rolled her eyes, but then the couple strolled through the park with Dokgu. Seo-won kissed his loved and the beside puppy and believed they would be always happy each other.